Hey everybody, how you doing? Hopefully you had a great Thanksgiving and a good weekend. Just a really quick video this weekend. Look at a couple index charts, give some market thoughts, and then look at some opportunities that are on my radar for next week to hopefully give you some ideas. So here's the SPY S&P 500 Index ETF. This 270 level is a key one I was watching. It acted as resistance back here in April, late spring into summer. You could see it turned into support, and now we cut below that last week, and we're trading quite a bit below it. So you can see that's the yellow highlighted area here, and then just above that are a couple other key highlighted areas. So I think maybe next week, maybe into the end of the year, if we start getting a bounce, it'll be really interesting to see how price starts acting around all this overhead. And I'll pull up this chart again. I'm not going to talk about it too much because I've mentioned it the last few weeks. We do have this bearish cross in the MACD here, and every time that's happened over the last 20 plus years, it's meant something. Now, does it mean the market crashes? No, not every time. It did in 2000. That kind of preceded the crash there, and in 2007. But there's also these little crosses where it worked itself out pretty quick here in 2011, 2015. Where we had the market go sideways for 18 months. So when we have had that cross, at a minimum, it's meant that the long-term momentum of the market has kind of come into question, and things just went down to slightly sideways. And it took about a year to 18 months to make a new high. So we have that again here. Only time will tell what happens. Just because it happened like that in the past doesn't mean it has to in the future. But we do have that, and a lot of other kind of somewhat troubling signs longer term in the indexes, at least from my point of view. But maybe here in the short term, we can dig in. Here's the IWM, the small cap ETF. You can see a really ugly look, I think, longer term. This 160 area is the key one. If we can get back above that, I think that would be a really good sign for the market. But we have this, this 50 days curling down, the 200 days starting to curl down, so we're below that 160. But what we do have is we found some support here around 145 or so, which was also support all the way back in November 17. Early this year, it bounced off that, bounced off it, at the end of October, and we bounced off it again last week. And I wouldn't say bounced off it, but we held there. So maybe if we can get a bounce there, maybe we can get a little run into the end of the year. It's if we get up about 6 or 7%, that's when we come into that 160 level. So again, that would be a little tough. It take some work to overcome that. But in the short term, maybe we get a little bounce here next week. So if we do, let's go over some long trade ideas that I'm looking at. First one is MASI. This one has an area here around 102, 103, acted as resistance, back here in the summer a couple times, broke through it, had a nice run, and now it's coming back to retest it. So it's back at this level, which is also this rising 200-day moving average. So if it starts bouncing here, I think this is a nice long trade idea. Again, a lot of shares traded here on the way down. So if I was to enter this long, I'd look to book profits as it moved up, maybe to 110 area. I'd look to take some off the table. That was a small level of support turn resistance there. So I'd look to book some profits there if it got up there. But I think this is a good buy spot with a stop, pretty close below it. Similar look here in FTNT, same idea. This level here is about $67, was resistance here and here, had a nice run coming back down to that area. So we'll see if it can dig in, and that old resistance can turn into support. And also we have this rising 200-day right there as well. So if I were to enter this one on the long side, put my stop just below those lows from last week, maybe $64, $64.50 or so. Next two are financials. BPOP. This one has a level here around 52.50. Acted as resistance quite a few times here, broke above it, and now it's consolidating. Put in a decent day on Friday, up 0.28%. So if this one digs in there and starts turning up, I think this looks like a nice long trade idea above this yellow box. OFG, similar look. This level here is about 1760. Was resistance here, just kind of consolidated there for weeks, kind of broke above it, no follow through, but it's still kind of consolidating right there. So if this one looks like it wants to take off, above $18 or so, I think this one looks like an attractive long opportunity. Here's NEE, utility name. This one has a level here about $175. You could see it was resistance here, here, a bunch of times. Finally broke through it, came back quickly for a retest before moving quite a bit higher. And then Friday had a nice bounce off of that as well. So defensive name, utility. I like this one above this 175. If I were to enter it, I put my stop slightly below that. We'll go through a few REITs. I went through some of these last week as well, but they're still just kind of hanging out right where they were last week. So if they can start moving up, they look like nice long trade opportunities. This one here, we have a level about $99. That was resistance all these times. It's just consolidating right here. So if it starts moving up, above $100 or so, this looks like a nice long opportunity. REXR, same idea. This level here is about, $33. Was resistance here, just kind of broke above it, but not really. It's just consolidating right there. So if it decides it wants to start moving up out of this consolidation range, maybe 30, I said 33, maybe 33.50 or so, I think this looks like a nice long trade opportunity. This one again, I mentioned last week. I'm just going to go over a few here in this video, but this is one I like the looks of. This big earnings pop. It's been just kind of orderly, digesting all those gains, just a nice kind of steady, slightly downtrend here. So if it could break above that trend from late August, and I always look for a horizontal level. So my horizontal level here would be about 62.50, which would be over the highs here from the last few weeks. And it would also put it over that downtrend line. That would be the area that I would look at to trigger a long trade there in GKOS. VSEL, this is a really similar setup here. Had this big pop on volume. Now it's just consolidating. So if it can get above 1750 or so and resume that upward move, this one looks like a nice long trade opportunity for me. So those are just a few I'm looking at for next week. Hopefully you found this helpful. Again, like I said, just a quick video this weekend to give some ideas. If you're interested, please check out ttptrading.com. It's myself and CJ Agresta. We're offering a free 30-day trial, which is enough time to kind of give you a good feel for what we do. So stop by and check it out if you're interested. And like I always say, if you're not interested, no worries, that's okay. But I hope you guys have a good rest of your Sunday and a great week next week. Thank you. Take care.